Have you ever felt like this life is too harsh? Low salary, work pressure, disease, and sometimes you just want to give up, that no one in this life is as miserable as you. But think about it. You still have a home to return to, a warm bed to lie down in after a long day, hot water to shower, and a safe place to stay in the storm. That puts you in a position of privilege. Because even in rich cities like Los Angeles, tens of thousands of people do not have that. They sleep under bridges, on sidewalks, or in old cars for a long time, facing the dangers that always lurk them. And their story is not about laziness or bad choices, but about the social system that failed them before they fell. That is the truth we are about to explore. San Diego homelessness. Scale and diversity. In 2025, San Diego faces a growing homelessness crisis, with more than 10,800 individuals reported as homeless, a 4% increase from the previous year. This rise reflects ongoing challenges in a city often celebrated for its sunny beaches and vibrant communities, but shadowed by the struggles of those without shelter. Approximately 60% of these individuals live without official shelter, enduring nights under freeway overpasses, in public parks, or along busy tourist areas. These locations highlight the stark contrast between San Diego's thriving city life and the harsh realities faced by many residents. The homeless population here is incredibly diverse. It includes elderly men and women who often grapple with health issues and isolation, veterans carrying the invisible wounds of service, and families pushed to the brink by economic hardship. The stories behind these numbers reveal complex and layered causes, not just personal misfortune, but systemic failures that leave many vulnerable. Demographically, the crisis touches all races, with around 58% identifying as white, 34% Hispanic or Latino, and 22% Black or African American. These figures show how homelessness intersects with race and socioeconomic disparities, underscoring the need for inclusive solutions that address these inequalities. Despite the diversity, one thing remains clear: homelessness in San Diego is not a problem confined to any one group. It affects people across age, race, and background, all struggling for basic dignity and safety. Understanding the scale and characteristics of this crisis is essential for developing effective policies and community responses that can finally turn the tide and provide hope for those living on the edge. Situation in Los Angeles County. In 2023, Los Angeles County faced a staggering homelessness crisis with nearly 190,000 individuals experiencing homelessness. Among them, about 29,700 are classified as chronically homeless, a sharp increase from just over 8,000 in 2018. This dramatic rise highlights that homelessness in LA isn't just a temporary hardship for some. It has become a persistent, long-term reality for tens of thousands of people. These are not fleeting moments of instability, but prolonged struggles marked by a lack of access to stable housing, healthcare, and social support. The growth of chronic homelessness signals systemic failures in addressing root causes such as affordable housing shortages, mental health crises, and economic inequality. Many of these individuals endure years, sometimes decades, without a permanent place to call home, often facing deteriorating health and limited opportunities for recovery. This ongoing challenge not only strains public resources, but also affects the fabric of communities across the county. As homelessness becomes entrenched, it forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. What more can we do to help those stuck in this cycle? How can policies shift from temporary fixes to sustainable solutions? What would it take for LA County to truly turn the tide on this crisis? What do you think is the biggest barrier keeping people homeless in Los Angeles from finding lasting stability? Share your thoughts below. Major causes of homelessness. One of the driving forces behind the homelessness crisis in Los Angeles is the extremely high cost of living. The median home price in the city hovers around $912,500, nearly 2.5 times the national median of about $375,000. This staggering difference puts homeownership out of reach for most residents, pushing many to rent instead. But even renting has become prohibitively expensive. The average monthly rent for a two-bedroom apartment is roughly $2,570, a figure that far exceeds what many low- and middle-income workers can afford. Adding to the financial strain is the city's sprawling geography and heavy reliance on cars. Los Angeles covers a vast area, forcing most residents to own a vehicle to get around. This dependency drives up living costs in several ways. Gas prices here are typically 30 to 40% higher than the national average. And the city's infamous traffic congestion means people spend hours stuck in their cars, burning more fuel and losing valuable time. For many, these transportation costs are a hidden but significant expense that eats away at budgets already stretched thin by rent and other essentials. Unfortunately, public transportation options are limited and often inconvenient in LA. While buses and subways serve some parts of the city, the network doesn't cover enough ground or operate frequently enough to be a practical alternative for most. This lack of reliable, affordable transit leaves residents with few choices but to rely on personal vehicles, perpetuating the cycle of high expenses and economic pressure. Together, these factors create an environment where even those who work full-time jobs struggle to keep a roof over their heads. When housing costs soar, transportation is expensive, and public transit falls short. Many people find themselves one crisis away from losing their homes. Whether it's a sudden medical bill, car repair, or job loss, the financial safety net is often too thin to catch them. Understanding these root causes is essential as we move on to explore the people behind the statistics, the diverse and often vulnerable individuals who make up the homeless population in Los Angeles. Worrying subjects of homelessness. In the sprawling city of Los Angeles, the face of homelessness is complex and heartbreaking, touching lives in ways many don't fully see or understand. Among the most vulnerable are the children, some 21,000 young souls experiencing homelessness every year. These children are not just statistics. They are boys and girls whose health suffers without stable shelter, whose education is interrupted by the uncertainty of where they'll sleep next, and whose futures hang precariously in the balance. Without intervention, too many are trapped in a cycle that repeats itself, growing up without a home only to face the same fate as adults. The toll on these kids is profound. Imagine the daily struggles they endure: lack of consistent meals, exposure to the elements, missed school days, and the crushing weight of insecurity. This is childhood robbed of safety and normalcy, replaced by fear and survival. How do we turn a blind eye to the innocent caught in such relentless hardship? Yet, the crisis doesn't stop there. Los Angeles is also grappling with a surge in crime and gang violence that intensifies the precariousness of life for many residents, homeless or not. In 2023 alone, crime rose by 10%, pushing LA into the ranks of America's most dangerous cities. Property crimes and violent offenses have reached unsettling highs. Underneath this troubling landscape are roughly 950 active gangs, with over 105,000 members weaving a web of fear through communities. The presence of these gangs casts long shadows, scaring away investment and diminishing the quality of life for countless people who just want to live without fear. For many homeless individuals, the streets are not just cold or unsafe, they are territory marked by violence and desperation. The relentless threat of gang activity and crime creates a cycle of trauma and instability, making it even harder for those living on the margins to escape. It's a community caught between survival and hopelessness, where trust is scarce and danger lurks in every corner. Adding another layer to this crisis is the massive population of undocumented immigrants in Los Angeles, estimated at around 839,000 in 2023. Many arrive seeking safety and opportunity, only to face barriers that few truly understand. Without legal status, they cannot access formal employment, forcing them into low-paying, unstable jobs. Language and cultural isolation deepen their vulnerability. When housing becomes unaffordable and social support unreachable, many undocumented immigrants slip into homelessness, invisible and unheard. Their struggles highlight a harsh reality. Homelessness is not simply a matter of individual failure or poor choices. It is a systemic failure of policies that exclude, economies that widen inequality, and social networks that fray under pressure. Behind every tent, every street corner, and every desperate story is a person caught in this intricate web. As a society, we must ask ourselves, how can we stand by while so many children, families, immigrants are pushed to the edge? What does it say about us if we fail to protect the most vulnerable among us? Let's share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. How has homelessness touched your life or the lives of those you know? Together, let's listen, learn, and find ways to build a community where everyone truly has a place to call home. Profound impact and influence on community and well-being. The impact of homelessness on communities goes far beyond the individuals experiencing it. It shakes the very foundation of social life and well-being. As homelessness rises, so does social tension. Neighborhoods become fragmented, and inequality widens, leaving many feeling isolated and unsafe in places that should be their homes. One of the most urgent needs is building communities where people feel secure and supported. This means more than just shelter. It requires access to decent jobs with fair wages and social services that are easy to reach. Without these, even those working full-time struggle to keep their heads above water. Daily living costs in many cities, especially places like Los Angeles, can be 17 to 40% higher than the national average. Whether it's groceries, gas, utilities, healthcare, or taxes, prices climb relentlessly. Meanwhile, wages stagnate, failing to keep pace with this rising cost of living. The result? Countless hardworking people live paycheck to paycheck, and many still find themselves without a home. It's a painful irony that having a job no longer guarantees stability. People juggle multiple jobs just to cover rent, only to fall behind when unexpected expenses hit, a car repair, a medical bill, or even just a bad month. This creates a cycle where housing insecurity isn't about laziness or poor choices, but about a system that hasn't caught up with reality. To truly address homelessness, we must understand these deep-rooted challenges. It's about more than shelters. It's about creating communities where everyone has a fair chance to live with dignity and security. Only then can we begin to heal the fractures homelessness has left in our society. Surrounding issues: homelessness. Rising poverty, a structural problem. Poverty is a growing crisis that goes far beyond individual struggles. It's a deeply rooted structural problem. In places like Los Angeles, the poverty rate hovers around 16.6%, noticeably higher than the state average. This isn't just a number. It reflects a harsh reality for millions who find themselves trapped in a cycle that's incredibly hard to break. At the heart of this crisis lies widening income inequality. While the cost of living continues to climb sharply, especially housing and healthcare, wages for many have stagnated or barely kept pace. For working families, this means making impossible choices between paying rent or buying food, between healthcare or education. The gap between rich and poor grows wider every year, and with it, the distance to a stable life grows longer. The consequences of this structural poverty are devastating. It fuels homelessness as more people lose affordable places to live. It damages health, as chronic stress and lack of access to care take a toll. Educational opportunities dwindle, limiting the next generation's chances to climb out of poverty. And without support, these challenges only multiply. Addressing poverty means tackling these systemic issues head-on. It requires real commitment to raising wages, controlling living costs, and ensuring access to quality education and healthcare. Without that, the cycle continues, and so does the suffering of too many. Infrastructure and resource issues. One of the most overlooked struggles facing Los Angeles is its fragile infrastructure, especially when it comes to water resources. The city depends heavily on water imported from distant sources, making it vulnerable to shortages and rising costs. Aging pipes and outdated systems lead to frequent leaks and disruptions, meaning that even when water is available, it doesn't always reach those who need it most. For people experiencing homelessness, the scarcity is more than an inconvenience, it's a matter of survival. Access to clean, reliable water is essential for drinking, hygiene, and staying healthy. Yet many living on the streets face daily uncertainty just to find a safe place to wash or drink. Adding to this crisis is the harsh reality of climate change. Los Angeles has seen hotter summers, longer droughts, and devastating wildfires in recent years. These environmental shifts hit homeless communities especially hard. Without shelter or shade, exposure to extreme heat can quickly become life-threatening. Smoke and poor air quality worsen chronic health problems, while drought conditions put additional pressure on already limited water supplies. These interconnected challenges show that homelessness is not just a social issue. It's deeply tied to how we manage our environment and infrastructure. Addressing this crisis means confronting the realities of climate change and investing in resilient, equitable resources that protect everyone, especially society's most vulnerable. Conclusion, call and action. Los Angeles stands at a crossroads. Will it continue to sink deeper into injustice and crisis, or will it find a way toward a more equitable future? This isn't just a city's problem. It's a reflection of our collective failure to protect the most vulnerable among us. So, what can we do? How can we, as individuals and as a community, rise to meet this challenge? Change won't come without effort, compassion, and the courage to demand better policies and real solutions. Are we ready to rethink how we address homelessness, or will we turn a blind eye again? How can we build a city where everyone truly has a safe place to call home? I want to hear your thoughts. What role do you believe each of us should play in shaping that future? Share your ideas, your frustrations, and your hopes in the comments below, because the conversation is just beginning.